Would I want a woman whose heart is guarded and closed to raise my children? Think of any good mother you know in life. A truly caring, empathetic, nurturing mother. Is her heart closed? No. And when men see a person they're dating not being able to be vulnerable, communicate openly, he knows her heart is closed. And when her heart is closed, she cannot possibly be the mother of his children, because a mother with a closed heart is the source of most trauma for most people. Hello everyone, welcome to a new episode of the New Age Sage podcast. Today I'm going solo again. Y'all ain't ready for this one. I'm gonna go deep into a topic I think most women want to hear about, and men probably too. So I'm gonna do two things. The topic is why men don't want to commit. And of course, some general things I'll cover in the introduction, but why men and women should tune in is for women. I will list out what qualities men look for in commitment, and why commitment is rare is because those qualities are rare in women. And specifically, I'm going to use the perspective of good men, because, not to sound egoistic, I consider myself a good man. But even more than that, I have very close friends who are actually amazing men. I can confirm it for a fact. So averaging and aggregating all the perspectives of the truly good men I know, and I waited years of having no friends to finally be friends with those people because I know they're good men. I'm averaging what all of us believe to be qualities we want in a woman, and I consider us healed men. And so I'm using the perspective of what qualities will healed men see in a woman that will make them not want to commit. Now, in terms of why men should watch as well, even though men don't really want to listen to this shit, sadly, which is why I try and gear it towards women, because men are so egoistic, they don't want to hear their own shit. Men should watch it as well to understand what qualities in women are not worth commitment. Like, what qualities in women are severe red flags to not sacrifice your commitment of gold for them. Okay, generally speaking. The common perception from women is to place all the blame on men. Men are sleazebags, they're dirtbags, they just want to fuck all the time, they don't want to commit. And yeah, that's true for the most part. I get it. I get it. And I was once one of those guys, and I would not commit because I wanted to fucking be hedonistic and go, run amok in the streets of Sodom and Gomorrah. But there is some truth to this. Energetically speaking, men want freedom. If you see, why do men love watching war movies? Why do men love watching basketball games and football games? Because once you win the battle, you get freedom, you get glory. So men are wired through evolutionary biology to be obsessed with freedom, and specifically conquering something and winning over something. And that to them is freedom. And that transfers to, they believe, even though it's irrational, that by conquering multiple women I find attractive and having the opportunity to do so, I am now free. If I'm just locked in the same game forever, how can I be free? So to a man, it's like, if my team is the Warriors, sorry for the basketball talk, ladies, and all I can do is play the Lakers, how is that freedom? That's the irrational perception. Furthermore, another one is that unfortunately in this world, men gain attraction through status. The more status you have as a man, the more opportunities you have with women. Women don't want to accept that because they're like, but I'm not a gold digger. And many aren't. But factually, the more status a man has, the more attractive women find him. So when a guy finally achieves that status, he puts in the 10 years of hard work, failure, getting no woman, all that focus, he's like, man, I worked my ass off to earn this attraction from a woman I never got. So why should I commit to someone I just got this access to the candy store? That's another perspective. The last one I'll touch generally is most men have deeply leaky sexual energy, which means that they have no containment or container for their sexual energy, which means that any woman they see that they deem as attractive, that sexual energy internally will be leaked onto them. And most men don't know about that and can't contain that. So the only way for them to live is to constantly follow that leaky sexual energy and attribute it and project it to any girl they see. And most men can't fathom a life where they don't have that access to explore that leaky sexual energy. So, okay. The real investigatory perspective to apply here is, all that may be true, that men generally are less likely to commit because they seek freedom and they want to reap the fruits of their status and their leaky sexual energy. But there's also the truth of, what if they don't want to commit to you? If you're always having men not commit to you, like, that is worth investigation. Period. The only thing that, when I first got to college, I had no game. I had no idea what I was doing. And that, yeah, me getting better at that led me to be manipulative, which wasn't good, but my dating life got better when I looked at myself like, is the product A1? Am I offering McDonald's burgers, or am I offering A1 Wagyu straight from the forest of Japan? Like, that's the shit that we should be focusing on. Like, is the product worth the prize? And that takes some serious self-accountability, but what's the other option? Like, you have to be real with yourself. I'm going to use a biblical story here to portray what I'm saying here, that in the story Cain and Abel, hear me out. I know I might sound like a fucking Christian nut, but it's just a really good story. That symbolizes and exemplifies what I'm talking about. Abel would always create the best sacrifice, the highest lamb, the best fruit to God. God, here's the best sacrifice I can possibly give. And in the product of pursuing and creating a beautiful sacrifice to God, God will be like, here is good karma, good things for you, good forest, good product, good life. Like, here you go. Cain will give us some shit fucking product, like a little, beaten up, disease-riddled lamb, or, a mangled, terrible carrot, and be like, God, here's my sacrifice. And God's like, what the fuck is that shit, bro? Like, I'm not giving you good things from that sacrifice. Like, I can only give you goods and abundance to the degree you sacrifice something of importance. And why I'm saying this is that Cain refused to look at his sacrifice and only looked to God and said, God, fuck you. I curse you because you're not giving me what I deserve, even though the sacrifice I'm offering is bullshit. And that exact way of living is what's reflective in the world nowadays, especially in dating. The product is me. And if the product is not worth the dating standards I want, if I really want the beautiful, amazing wife material woman, and the product that is me is still drinking, gambling, depressed, hedonistic, vaping, and I'm saying, universe, God, why can't you give me my queen? Because I'm not matching it. And the only perspective that's worth taking is being like, I'm offering the best I can give. And in that pursuit and effort, there is a universal law that God will meet you where you're at. Even if you're not religious or spiritual, factually, if the product that is you is not the best it could be, and you're blaming the universe or all men because, like, it can't be you, where does that get you? So the perspective of it can't be me has to go the fuck out the window. Like, that shit has to go out the window. The perspective of it's all men, it's all women, it's how could it be me, is the worst possible perspective in dating, because it takes away the opportunity to get better as a person, offer the best product to the universe that is you. In that pursuit and effort, you'll be given something that matches that frequency or product. I'm not saying you're a fucking product, but you get what I'm saying. That statement was a little counterintuitive, but like, you're a person, but you're also, like, in dating, you are the prize. You are the product in the market. You're still a human being, but like, what are you offering? What are you sacrificing? Are you still out there drinking all the time, doing drugs, fucking dudes left and right? Like, that's what you're giving to the world. Like, is the man you seek truly going to want that? Now we understand how blaming all men isn't useful here, or blaming all women, for the matter of fact, or the worst thing being Cain and blaming the universe for what is your own fault and shitty sacrifices. The real question to explore here is not that, like, all men can't commit and fuck God. It's what actually makes a man commit. What qualities in a woman are more likely to yield a man that is devoted and faithful to you to the very end? That is a juicy question worth exploring, because once you identify those traits, you can view yourself in the comparison, being like, where am I coming up short? And I guarantee you, in the pursuit of bettering these traits, you will become more likely to find a man that is likely to commit to you. Because if you're having no men commit to you, it's your fucking fault. Period. And I hate to be that person to say that, but it is. When I was in college as a freshman, and I would literally have a crush on a girl, and she would reject me over and over and over again. All girls I wanted didn't want me. When I was blaming women and blaming God and being resentful, it kept getting worse. But when I looked at myself and was like, holy shit, I'm needy as fuck. I haven't resolved any of my trauma from my childhood. I have no ability to have confidence in myself and trust myself to you know, be a good man to these women. Of course, it's not going to work out. Once I looked at myself and saw and asked myself, where am I coming up short? Nothing changed. Things only changed for the better when I got real with myself and was like, what qualities are women looking for that I'm not giving them? And for a woman, that's essential. Most women who suck at dating have no self-awareness. They can't possibly look at themselves and say, I'm coming up short. It's a tough thing to accept, but when you see where you're coming up short, you can actually change for the better and attract the men you want. Because the man you want, the king you want, is only going to accept what he is. What I mean by that is the qualities that he is exemplifying. He's not going to commit to someone who isn't exuding and exhibiting those things. So, quality one that a good, honest man will not accept. And that is a pretty simple one. That's very easy to fix. So, hear me out here. An inability to communicate. And there's different levels to this. The first being objectively, even not going too deep into the esoteric psychological rabbit hole, objectively, for me and good men, if you're a bad texter, and that's like, because you're not getting into deep conversations off the bat, but the texting phase of a dating dynamic is there for all of us, whether you like it or not. We live in a modern era, and texting is a crucial component of it. I'm not the best at it, honestly, but there's certain things that are not worth it, right? For example, texting is a very good test for men because we can use it as a way to see, is this girl playing games? Because in person, women tend to be a lot more themselves. Vibrant, feminine, beautiful, engaging. But the minute it goes to the phone, all hell breaks loose. And men, good, wise kings, will use texting as a way to be like, is she playing games? And the qualities that entail games are consistently taking ages to respond. And why I say consistently is that, like, look, we're all busy, right? I've been there where, like, the most you can do is give a voice note once a day to the person you're texting. I get it. But if it's always poor, like taking days to answer, or you're not engaging much, then to men it's hard to. This is the data point I'll present. Sorry to be a little all over the place. If the texting does not match the person you're bringing to the table in person, a man will immediately take that as a sign you're playing games, because you are. If the person you're being when you're texting is more reserved, not communicative, being inconsistent, not being engaging, but in person you're super engaging, all these things, how can a man not take that as a way to perceive you playing games? So I'm not saying you have to be super responsive and engaging in the text. I'm saying that, like, if you're not going to be communicative and you have days where you're busy, just say that, right? Like, for example, when I'm super busy and I'm texting a girl, I'll be like, hey, I'm fucking slammed with work. If I seem inconsistent in my texting, just know I'll be back on in a day or two. I'm just super jammed right now, right? That's all it takes. That's literally all it takes. So honestly, ask yourself, is the person I'm bringing to the dinner table literally the same person I'm bringing to texting? Because if it's not, you are using texting as a way to gain power over the man, to assert your dominance in the realm of I'm playing games in the form of taking distance to make sure I hold the power. I'm not saying that the man should hold the power either, but when you need to hold power, you end up playing games. And when men see that you're being inconsistent in your delivery and communication, it's an automatic sign that you are a poor communicator, right? And that's level one, right? The second level of poor communication is an inability to be vulnerable and explain how you feel. When I'm on a date, and maybe in the third, fourth date, you don't want to go super deep off the bat. If you're the person, awesome, but it's hard to be nowadays. And I'm presenting something vulnerable about myself, and I see in you, you can't go there. And what I mean by that is there's a hard, you kind of change topics, or you don't give me something back, right? For example, my two pain points are in life. I was a drug addict, and I lost my mom to cancer when I was 23. Those are my two pain points I bring to life. And when I present those to someone, it's revealing, it's sensitive, and I can see when women meet that with like, "Oh, I don't want to go there," and they'll change the topic, not be empathetic, and most importantly, they won't present something they're also dealing with, right? When someone in front of me is show me their heart, I'm gonna show my heart back. If you tell me you lost a deep friend to a drug addiction overdose, or they unalive themselves, I'm gonna show deep empathy, drop in with you, and then reveal something like, oh, I also had a friend deal with that. I know what it's like. Or if I don't know what it's like, say, hey, I don't know what it's like, but I'm here with you, right? If a man feels like a woman cannot be vulnerable and not reveal herself and not communicate how she feels, that's a huge red flag. Huge red flag. Because let me tell you why. A woman who cannot express her heart, and that's vulnerability, is I'm showing you all my heart. It's open. It's open, baby. There's nothing I gotta hide. When a man can see that your heart isn't open, that's not a good thing. And when you can't communicate your feelings and vulnerability, and you're playing games, your heart as a woman is not open. And when a king sees a woman whose heart is closed, why would he give her the keys to the kingdom, right? Furthermore, think about it from the guy's perspective, right? Would I want a woman whose heart is guarded and closed to raise my children? Just think about that. Like, think of any good mother you know in life. Like, a truly caring, empathetic, nurturing mother. Is her heart closed? No. And when men see a person they're dating not being able to be vulnerable, communicate openly, he knows her heart is closed. And when her heart is closed, she cannot possibly be the mother of his children, because a mother with a closed heart is the source of most trauma for most people, right? A nurturing, empathetic mother builds a foundation for a child's healthy brain and healthy heart. So when he sees you unable to open your heart, he can't commit to you, because commitment to a man means you're having my children. And if you're having my children, I need you to have an open heart. Because if you don't have an open heart, my kids and myself are fucked. And I honestly believe femininity, I always have a hard time saying that word, is a reflection of how much a woman's heart is open. Furthermore, that open heart leads to the most feminine trait, which is nurturing. Having the nurturing ability to convey the energy of love to someone else when they're in a point of vulnerability or pain. Think of any deeply, deeply feminine woman you know, and show me someone who isn't deeply nurturing when they see someone in pain. That's the essence of femininity, is the ability to nurture when you see someone struggling. And that comes with its own shadow, because that leads to caretaking tendencies. And I'm not saying that that's good, but just the ability to have empathy and nurture someone when they're down, right? And one example of this is that I remember after my mom passed away, I tried to numb it through playing basketball all the time, because I'm sober, right? So I had to do something to like to avoid the bottomless pit it was losing my mother. So I played basketball all day. I grew up playing basketball. It's a source of a lot of happiness for me. I fucking destroyed my right ankle, like just snapped it, horrible. And of course, I was like, "Ooh, but I can go lift weights with one leg and just like bicep curl all day like a bro." And then, of course, I was walking down the stairs, my aunt's house after dinner, and I destroyed my other ankle. And immediately, my ex girlfriend and my aunt sworn me, put their hands in my back, and empathized with me. I teared up and yelled because I was holding on to so much shit. And their energy allowed me to do that because they saw me in deep pain, and their nurturing nourishment brought me back to life. And the men, my dad, and bless him, immediately went to practicality. Like, give a crutch, give an ice pack, give a swelling. And that's beautiful too. Like, that's the beauty of men. My dad saw a problem that had to get fixed. And that saved my ankle because he got the ice, the crutch, the swelling, the painkillers. My uncle was fucking running to get it. But the woman, my aunt, my ex-girlfriend, were holding me, were empathizing with me, were nurturing me. And that is the kingdom. When the mother can nurture and nourish the child's heart while the dad is going to get the medicine, get the crutch. That combination is what creates the kingdom. And yes, both parties have to have the ability to do the other thing too, right? The man should also be able to nurture, the woman should also be able to solve the problem, but each has its strength. And when a woman can't communicate and her heart isn't open, she does not have the capacity to be nurturing. And any king needs his queen to be able to nurture their children and himself, right? And the last point I'll touch upon this first quality is the most feminine women I've ever met are the ones who are the most comfortable being vulnerable. Okay, I think my mom was a deeply, deeply feminine woman. My dad's a deeply masculine guy, and they had a beautiful marriage. And maybe that's why I'm biased towards his traditional energies. They're both liberals and etc. But they honored sexual polarity. Sounds weird saying sexual to my parents, but um, why I'm saying this is my mom was the most beautifully feminine woman I've ever known, and bless her soul. And the quality I think she exemplified the most was her ability to be vulnerable. So that taught me that vulnerability is the most beautiful and highest form of the divine feminine because it means that my heart is so open, I have absolutely nothing to hide. I'm all love, I'm all acceptance, and being all love, all acceptance means I accept all of me and I can reveal all of me. My mom was so beautifully feminine because she was always able to reveal all of herself no matter who. Whenever she met a new person, the person was like, I'm anxious. My mom was like, I'm on all these, I take medications, I have anxiety, I was abused as a kid. And that openness made everyone love her because she was always vulnerable, always open and honest. And when men see a woman who has no ability to be vulnerable and open, he knows her heart is closed. And if her heart is closed, she cannot exude the nurturing abilities of the feminine. And if she can't be nurturing, why would he want to commit to her and have her raise the kids that he wants to have a healthy brain and heart? Okay, so to close this section, if you cannot be vulnerable, if you cannot communicate what's on your heart, if you are not matching what you're being in person to your texting, a man will take that as a sign that you cannot communicate properly. And if you cannot communicate properly, why would he commit to you? Okay? So, ways to work on that are look at yourself. If you have a hard time communicating romantically, ask yourself, what am I hiding? What am I not comfortable bringing to the world? What am I not comfortable with a man or woman seeing in me? And when you identify that, love that part of you. And once you love it, speak it, show it. That's vulnerability. When you can show and reveal the sides of yourself that were previously held in shame. Once you can show that to the world, you will find the lover that's meant for you. If you're hiding that part of you constantly, you cannot bring all of yourself to the table. And if you cannot bring all of yourself to the table, you will not meet someone else who's perfectly and beautifully honest, authentic, and vulnerable. So, just get in the habit of that. Okay. All right. Quality 2. And this one's controversial for women who are in here who are more of the modern world, more aligned with feminism, more liberal, which is perfectly fine. I would just hear me out, okay? This quality is, for men, will she let me lead? If a high quality man, a king, sees a woman and he knows she no way she can let me lead, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. And as much as you may be resistant to that component of masculinity, it's there. Any high quality man who knows you will not let him lead will not commit to you. It's over. It's a wrap. So if you want to attract a king, you have to ask yourself, am I comfortable with him leading? Now, I know women's nervous systems go crazy when they hear the word men should lead. And because it's justified, because boys believe leadership is control. If I lead, it means I control everything about you. That's bullshit. Leadership means I lead, I suggest, I make plans. You can choose to not follow me. That's perfectly on you. But my masculine duty is to take the decision making and the constant analyzing and the constant thinking and battling my emotions and of my family and placing on myself and taking that duty so you can be in a space of joy and surrender and love and laughter. I will take on the ills and the anxiety that comes with having to constantly make decisions so you can be in your feminine to the highest level. But that does not mean control. I have no, if I'm a leader, a male leader, I have no right to control the feminine. I have no right to say, hey, you can and cannot do this. I can say, hey, I'm doing this. If you trust me, come with me. If this feels shaky and your intuition saying no, honor that. But by leadership, I mean, follow me. I know the way. But if you think I don't know the way, cool. You don't have to follow me. I'm not gonna get mad at you, but just trust me. I know most women will hear, and especially in America, will hear this concept that men should lead, and rightfully so, as I mentioned just now, they'll get angsty and anxious, and because male leadership has led to the patriarchy, which has subjected and abused women for millennia. But again, it's the incorrect form of leadership. However, I want you to, for those women, I want you to consider this: two men, version A, version B. Okay, version A, the guy constantly puts the decision making on you. Hey, it's time for dinner. The guy goes, I don't know what to eat. What do you like? What do we do here? Like, you have to choose a restaurant, right? You're picking a movie. I don't know what to pick. You have to pick it, right? You're asking him, hey, what cots should I get? He's like, I don't fucking know. Pick it yourself. Or he is like, you drive the car today. Like, I don't want to drive. Um, Average that to every single thing and put it on him as one archetype, right? The man who constantly puts the decision making onto you, right? If you have in the bedroom, like, oh, what do you want to try today? I don't know. I'll follow your lead, right? Like, always be on top. I don't want to do anything, right? Like, compare that man of version A to version B, who feels what you want, who says, hey, we're going to this restaurant tonight at 8 p.m. Let's go. Or, hey, we're going to watch this action movie tonight, but on Thursday, I'll watch a rom com to balance it out. Hey, little Cyrus is dealing with some sickness. I already booked a point with a doctor. How do you feel about that? Compare that man who is making decisions and knows what you want. For example, even if he sees you, think about this is the best example. If he sees you kind of tired, groggy, out of it, and he draws you a bath with roses, puts on your favorite song in the bathroom, it's like, follow me, I'm gonna take care of you, right? Or if the other man, version A, is like, you're sick, I don't know what to do. Okay, feel both men. Feel version A, the guy who constantly puts the decision making onto you, and version B, the guy who has leadership, who can feel what you want and suggest it, not demanding it, but saying, hey, we're going here, and you can tell me if you don't want to go here, but I'm making the decision, so you can just surrender into your femininity and just be peaceful and joyful and free. Feel the energy of both those things. Which one are you more sexually attracted to? Which man turns you on more? Which man do you want to jump his bones? Do you honestly want to jump the bones of the guy who's constantly putting the decision making onto you, who has no idea where to go, what to do? Is that guy sexy? Like, whatever you want to believe in, most women will tell you no. So, like, just sit with that, right? That when you feel the most turned on, alive, and present, it's with a guy who allows you to be in a space of surrender and joy because he takes the stress of decision making onto himself. And again, he's not controlling you with that, but he's leading with that. Okay. Now that we've covered that, I hope you bring that perspective into your mind that women are deep down attracted to a guy who can lead, but that leadership does not mean control. If you meet a man who says he's a leader, but he starts controlling you, that's not a leader. So throw the idea out the window. a true leader will not control you, but suggest things and intuit what you want and bring you along the way. And you have the freedom to say no, right? Okay. Now, women who are averse to leadership from men tend to be in their masculine more, which means that they're constantly fixing, controlling things, right? And when this is a common complaint of men, is that they'll be like, my girl's so nagging. She nags all the time. What a nagging woman really means is that she's constantly fixing and controlling what the man's doing, um, which can manifest as constantly nitpicking his life. Like, did you go to that meeting? Did you go to the gym today? Da 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 da. Like, oh, did da 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 da. Like, constantly like directing his life, constantly like making him do things. Right? No man wants that. Like, think of the king. Would a king want a wife who's constantly nagging him and taking him away from his path and being like, do this, do that? Like, you can't do that. Da, 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 da. Like, that's not what men want. And literally, the number one red flag for almost all men is a woman who does that, who's constantly fixing, controlling things because she can't possibly hand the leadership to the man. And any dynamic I've seen that is a horrible marriage. Just think of a dynamic where the woman is constantly fixing, controlling things for the man and dictating his life. Is that ever a healthy marriage? Just think about that. Think of the couples who exemplify that. The woman constantly controlling and fixing the man's life. Is it ever a good dynamic? No. No. Because it goes against everything men stand for. Right? And I don't believe men should either fix and control a woman's life either. At all. I don't. That's not leadership. The wounded feminine takes it upon herself to lead, and what that leadership to her unconsciously means is that I have to fix and control your life because I can't trust you. I can't trust your vision. So I have to constantly fix and control you to fit my own trauma so I don't get triggered all the time. That's not a healthy dynamic. And men, in my experience, when I allowed a woman like that into my world, I became a fucking lazy slob. I became a boy. I became a slave to myself. I had no masculinity. I became nothing. And this goes towards a man wants to lead because a man in his heart needs to know, do you trust my vision for the future? Do you trust the kingdom I'm looking at and building towards for the life for our family? If the man feels like you don't trust his vision or the capacity to execute it, he feels emasculated, he feels horrible, and he feels like you don't love him. Respect to a man is saying, I trust your vision and I trust your ability to execute it. If a man feels like you're doubting that, he can't trust you, he can't love you, period. It's just the way we are. And when a woman is constantly trying to fix and control his life, he feels like, you don't trust my vision, you don't trust my ability to execute it. And most men, like, what I get, woman, is that like most men can't. Most men's vision is fucking shit, and most men can't execute it. But why be with a man like that? Like, why be with a man that you have to constantly try and change his vision and his ability to execute it to be with him, right? You just want a man you can control and to be a beta, period. So if you want a king, that king has to know, will you trust my vision and my ability to execute the vision? Once he feels like you trust that, that man is a fucking killer. When a man knows his woman believes in his vision and believes in his ability to execute it, that man becomes a king. And that woman becomes a queen because she is giving her heart to the man and saying, I'm all in, baby. I'm all fucking in. I'm all in. I'm getting emotional because I know what that feels like. When a man feels like the woman's all in on his vision, he has to execute it. He has to execute it because he knows that that woman is giving him the world. And when a woman gives me that heart and saying, I trust your vision, I trust your ability to execute it, I'm doing it. I'm fucking doing it. I'm really doing it. That's why most men who really kill it in the world are men who have that woman with them from day one in the entrepreneurial phase saying, I believe in your vision. And they do it because the woman is saying, that the stakes are high. The woman's giving everything to you. And again, if you don't believe he has the vision to execute it, don't be with him. If you're with a guy who has no ability to execute an entrepreneurial idea, don't be with him. You constantly fixing him or changing him it's not gonna change that fact. And what this means is that Can you surrender to his vision without nagging him? And that's not to mean, right? I think woman's power is in their intuition. A woman's intuition is more powerful than man's mind ever will be. And that woman's intuition is incredibly useful when it comes to saying, hey, I don't know if that person is the right person to start your business with. I trust your vision. I trust your ability to execute it. That person, I don't know. That's where the intuition comes in. Not saying that like your fucking vision is shit. There's no way you can do it. I don't believe in you. That's different, right? So you have to honor your intuition. But you also can't emasculate your man by saying that you can't do it. Okay, so can you support him while not being overbearing? Yes, speak up when you see danger, but don't become the man. Okay. So to summarize, as rudimentary as possible, if a man feels like you want to let him lead, he's out. He's out. And leadership means, will you trust my vision, my ability to execute it, and will you trust my ability to make decisions, not to control you? If the man feels like you can't do that, he's out. And to be honest with you ladies, most liberal feminists are all in that camp. And I will not date any of them, not because of what they believe in, but because they will never trust me as a leader. And most kings and good men also won't date you because you won't trust them, right? Liberal feminism has taught women to not trust men. And that's perfectly, I understand it. Men are not trustworthy, but there are some men that are trustworthy, and they have to believe that you're trusting them to execute their vision to love you. So that's where I have an issue with liberal feminism, is that it's designed to teach you that all men suck, all men can't possibly succeed, and that you should not believe in them. But then that destroys your ability to attract a good man, because a good man has to know that you believe in his ability to lead and execute. So just really sit with that belief. You can still believe in liberalism and female power, empowerment, but at what cost is that coming to you when you believe that all men can't do shit? All right, number 3, physical appearance. And look, I know this is a tough one. I know this has cost women a lot of emotional pain and trauma, and it's a fucking rough one. But I'm just trying to be as truthful as possible. I think any man or any person needs to be very attracted to their mate. But what men need to see especially is, for example, I have a very high physical standard, right? I only date women I think are the most beautiful people out there physically. And yes, of course, their internal side has to match it too. I used to make that mistake when I was younger, not anymore. That's me, right? And men have that sensitivity. Men are more persuaded by beauty, physical beauty, than women are in terms of like their dating, which is unfortunate. I hate it, but it's the way it is. And the unfair advantage for men is that women are more sensitive to status than men are sensitive to status, right? A woman is more likely to date you if you have high status, and less likely to date you if you have lower status. That's also the unfairness on the other side. So the unfairness for women is that men are placed looks highly. The unfairness for men is that women place status highly. So it's just true, right? But you can't control what you look like. I get it. And if you want to go the plastic surgery route, that's not mine to speak to. Not a fan of it, but if that's what you got to do, you got to do that, right? But I think what is under your control is that, for example, if I'm on a date with a beautiful, hot, sexy woman, but I see her habits are fucked. If I see she's drinking a lot of alcohol, she just cokes sometimes, she's not going to the gym, she's eating shitty foods, I know that beauty does not have longevity. So I have to know that the woman is committed to her health, right? So an emotionally mature man, yeah, sure, he likes beautiful women, but he has to know that you're going to honor yourself and your body. That's more important. Like, your commitment to beauty, and beauty being health, is more important to men than your actual beauty, because he knows that looks will go, but your commitment to your health will never go. And that creates longevity. For me, if I see that a woman is working out, eating healthy, is working on her mental health, I know she's committed to health on all fronts. I know she has longevity. I know she's putting her best foot forward every day. And because I also know I'm putting my best forward, I'm going to the gym, I'm working on my mental health, I'm not drinking, I'm not doing drugs. Men look for that because they do it themselves, right? Good kings hold themselves to a high standard of physicality and mentally, right? He has to know you're doing the same thing. Because if you're beautiful and amazing, but you're not working on that constantly, that'll fade, right? Looks fade, but discipline does not. If you're a beautiful woman who's hot, but you have no desire to go to the gym or you don't eat healthy, a wise man will know that that's going to fade. In 5 years, you're going to look horrible and be ill. So no matter what you look like, the best thing you could do is be committed to healthy habits, because a king will see that and be like, you're worth commitment. Because when a man sees a woman who may be beautiful now, but is not healthy, he knows I can't commit to her because that'll fade in 5 years. The drugs will catch up. The not eating healthy will catch up. The not working out will catch up. So if you're a woman and you want commitment, you have to tell yourself, am I committed to myself? And being committed to yourself means being healthy. So if you're being healthy, that is a great thing to increase the likelihood of men committing to you. And again, to emphasize, being healthy for women does not mean being anorexic. Men like a little thick. Don't make this to mean don't eat. Eat fucking whatever you want as long as it's healthy. In high, I don't care about calories. It's actually quality of your food. Being super skinny is not what I'm saying here. Do not take what I'm saying to go fucking not eat and inject Ozempic into your all over your body. Don't do that. Be committed to health, and health means being healthy, eating healthy foods that are high fat, high quality foods, going to the gym. That's what I mean. Okay, so don't take this as an excuse to think that you get fucking sickly skinny and look like a bag of bones. Don't do that. Okay, this one's a tough question, but I have to pose it. If you're a woman and you have the vision of a king of what you want in the way he looks, and he's ripped, he's jacked, he's bone structure's good, are you matching that? Do you match that? And if you don't, you got to face that. Because most women I see who have that vision of a king and they're not meeting the physical standards of weight, I hate to say it, or physicality or beauty, they're always a side chick. It just is. Think about your friends who have these crazy standards for men physically. They're usually the one that gets fucked and put to the side. It's the truth. Because a man, unfortunately, will have sex with a woman a little down before he commits to the queen that's equal to him. It's just the way things are. I don't do that, but most men do. They'll constantly fuck girls who are a little less good looking than them until they wait for the queen that matches them. So if you don't match the guys you're envisioning, that's a problem. Because that guy you're envisioning won't commit to you unless you are equal to him or better than him. That's just the way things are. Okay? I hate to say it. So, just close this. You can't control what you look like to the extent of like your actual genetics, but you can get healthy, right? That's what I mean here is like, for a man to commit to you, he has to know you're committed to your health, because once he knows you're committed to your health, he knows you have longevity. And if you have longevity, it means that you both look as good as you can as time goes on. And you're less likely to get sick and die. If you're unhealthy, you're more likely to get sick and die, which is a problem for commitment. Okay. Second to last topic. Intelligence. There's a movement nowadays online for quote unquote red pill men who don't want smart women, who don't want a woman who's intellectually stimulating. When a guy doesn't want to date an intelligent woman, it means he wants to date a woman dumb enough to let him control her and dictate her life and have her sit down, shut up, suck dick, and cook. So when a guy says, I don't want a girl who's too smart, that guy just wants a woman that's submissive and worthy of control. Okay? So any guy that doesn't look for intelligence is a guy who wants to control his woman. So ladies, do not think if you're smart. I know if you're a smart woman, it's harder to find guys because most guys are dodo heads. So just know that your intelligence is deeply, deeply appreciated, and applauded for good men, because a good man needs intellectual stimulation. They just like, I'm one of those guys, again, not to sound like a pompous asshole. I need intellectual stimulation, because if you're just sitting there looking pretty, I'm gonna get bored, right? And I don't want to control you or and make me be the god, right? Men who want to control women who are dumb just want to be a god. They want to just have all the power, right? A less intelligent woman is more likely to look at their more intelligent male partner as a god. They want men who date dumb women want to be deified. So just know that any guy who is denying you because of your intelligence just wants to be a god to have you look up to him. That guy is not worth your time at all. So if you're someone who feels like you may not be the most intelligent, I'm sorry to sound like an asshole. There's things you can do, right? You can't increase your IQ, sadly. You can if you have brain issues that need fixing, but I honestly think being intelligent isn't a matter of IQ. Being intelligent to me is having interesting interests. Like, I've dated women who are not the most intellectually intelligent, but they have really fucking interesting interests, right? They love art, music, culture, literature, books, certain political components I find interesting. Like, being intelligent doesn't mean you have a high IQ. It means you have interesting interests. So if you're a woman who's like wants to start flexing that intelligence that you may believe is missing, develop interests that are interesting, right? Like, ask yourself, what are my interests? If your interests are TikTok makeup tutorials, being skinny, and gossiping with your friends, like what do you bring to the table, right? Like, ask yourself, am I an interesting date? Do I have interesting things to discuss that can lead a king to be interested in my intellectual abilities to match his need for stimulation, right? Like, what do you bring to the table there? To fix this, like, there's easy things to do here. Read books. Read books that are interesting to you, because in that process of reading things that are interesting to you, you develop interests that are interesting, because interesting books are interesting topics that anyone has access to. So start reading things that are interesting to you, and you start learning a lot about those topics, and you can start talking about them on a deeper level. Not just service level TikTok things. Like, scrolling on TikTok all the time doesn't make you actually understand the things you're interested in. It gives you a very surface level understanding of tons of things, right? You can't be an interesting person if you only have a surface level understanding of many things. You can be an interesting person if you have a deep knowledge on certain topics that you can acquire through reading interesting things. Furthermore, listen to interesting podcasts. That's a super easy way to be interesting, right? Like, what topics are interesting, you think, as people, right? It could be, I don't know about true crime. Maybe that could be interesting, but like, I don't know, political podcasts about spirituality, philosophy. Like, think about the things you're consuming. If you're only consuming Call Her Daddy and reality TV podcasts, is that interesting to men? No. So what are things that like are universally interesting that you can start listening to? When you're going on your 2-hour walk, plug in an interesting podcast, and the habit of doing that will literally make you a more interesting person. So if you're someone who feels like you may not have the intelligence piece that men are looking for, that's easily solvable by literally just reading interesting things and listening to interesting things and asking yourself, are the things I'm interested in truly interesting things? So now that's well in your wheelhouse to get better at. However, where the intelligence piece for men gets tricky is that women who are super intelligent, sadly, are so at the cost of sacrificing their intuition and their femininity, right? Women who live up here are in their masculine. If you're a woman, you're always up here. You're always having to fix, control things, be in that position of always having your way, having your say, being super analytical and intellectual. Where's your energy not going? Your heart. If you're always in your mind as a very smart woman, you're not in your heart. That's not to say that your intelligence isn't beautiful and amazing, but if you're spending no time in your heart, you've lost your feminine essence. Because if you're always mind, how can you possibly be a caring, nurturing person? And if you're not a caring, nurturing person, how can you possibly fulfill the feminine duties needed to be a good mother, right? Any man who's had a mother who's always in her mind and not in her heart is deeply traumatized. So if you're a woman who's intelligent at the cost of her own heart, a man will find it tricky to commit to you because he knows, yes, she's smart, she's amazing, but her heart's lost. And if her heart's lost, my children are fucked. So if you're a super intelligent woman, that's amazing. That's awesome. I look for that in a woman. But make sure it's not coming at the cost of your heart, right? If you're a boss babe, you're out there killing it, doing amazing things, being in your mind, can you also spend time coming into your heart? Can you do both? And you can do both. Because if you're only living up here as a woman, you've lost this. If you've lost this, you've lost your king. Any king needs a woman to be in his heart instead of her mind constantly. Any woman who's in her mind constantly will not find her king because that king cannot be with a woman who has no ability to access her heart. That's possible, right? You can be at work killing it all day, ordering your fucking assistant around. Once you're home, can you drop into your heart? Can you watch a rom-com? Can you light some candles? Feel your body, be erotic, move a little bit. Like, can you go into your heart and not your mind constantly? Because if you can't, that's tough. If a man sees you can't be in your heart, he's not going to commit to you. And that's where intelligence for women gets tricky. All right. Furthermore, a king, a good man, knows the power of your intuition. A woman's intuition is the highest gift they offer in the romantic union of the kingdom, of king and queen, okay? What monogamy means to me, if you're a woman and you gift monogamy to a man, it means you literally have access to my womb. You have full access to my womb. What that means beyond sexually is you have access to my intuition. My magic is now my gift to you. If you want to know things that go beyond your male mind, you have access to my intuition. That is the gift I give you in my commitment to monogamy with you. You and only you has access to my womb in the form of my ever-knowing, powerful female intuition. And a king, a high king, knows how amazing that is. And if you're a woman who's only in the mind, he knows he cannot have the gift of your intuition and your womb. So, as a woman, that's the biggest gift you bring to the table. A woman who has deep access to her intuition will tell the man things he cannot possibly know that may destroy his kingdom, right? A deep, amazing female intuition. I saw my mom, she'd tell my dad, hey, that guy's a fucking cokehead crazy man. Do not make a deal with him. And whenever my dad wouldn't listen, he'd get fucked. But when he did listen, his life kept getting better and better, better and better, better and better and better and better and better. Sorry, it's hard to say better and better without going into a maniacal stutter. So a man for commitment has to know you have access to your intuition because that's a gift you can give him to create the kingdom. All right. Last quality. Quality 5. Confidence and boundaries. Only insecure men want insecure women because an insecure man wants to control a woman and an insecure man can only control an insecure woman. So when an insecure man sees a confident woman with boundaries, he gets fucking terrified and pushes her away. So to push away all the insecure men who will control you, you have to be as loudly confident, brazen, and boundaried up as possible because then you'll attract a man who honors your loudness. And if a man can't honor your loudness, he's a boy. Because a man who sees a woman shining knows he has to match that level to be with her. And most men can never do that. So this is what happens in relationships, right? A woman will meet a guy who's shining. He's confident, he's cool, he's amazing. And they're vibrating in the same frequency. But that woman who shines, who truly shines, will keep shining louder and louder and louder and louder. And the man's stuck here in his own little shine. And to feel like he's not a piece of shit and not unworthy, he'll have to criticize you and belittle you to make you come back down to his level of brightness. So if you're a woman, you have to know this guy can shine as bright as me and does not get insecure about my loudness. And to make sure it's a possibility, you have to be as confident as humanly possible in yourself and never sacrifice that because you'll know early enough, this guy can't match me. And if this guy can't match my loudness, he will control and belittle me to bring me down and dumb me down to his level of low volume. Okay. A woman with strong boundaries is a woman that a man knows he cannot control. And a good man knows a good woman will not be controlled. So a strong, emotionally intelligent man will look for a woman with boundaries. And boundaries isn't what gets misconstrued here, is boundaries are often used by people to control them, saying, my boundary is you cannot do this. That's not what a boundary is. A boundary is teaching someone how to treat you, right? If you do X, I'll react a certain way, period. If you disrespect me and call me a bitch, I will immediately leave the room and not talk to you for a while because I cannot tolerate that. A boundary is an incorrect boundary is if you call me a bitch, then not actually it's not if. You cannot call me a bitch. That's a crazy example, but it's like when you directly make a request or a commandment, it's not a boundary. Boundary is if you do this, I'm out. Period. You can keep doing that, right? Like, for example, in monogamy, a boundary is like, hey, you're free to fuck whoever you want. If you fuck someone else, I'm out. Period. So a woman who has good boundaries is like, hey, this is the respect and treatment I'll tolerate. You can do whatever you want, but just know that like I won't tolerate that, and I may take space. I don't know if I explained that well enough, but like a woman who uses boundaries incorrectly is very much like controlling men. Like you will behave in the way I exactly want. A more feminine, stronger, confident way of doing things is saying, hey, you can act however you want, but just know I'll react this way. If you call me a bitch, I'm not gonna like it. I'm gonna need space. You can say whatever you want, do whatever you want, but that's not my thing, right? Trying to think my own boundaries. Like, for example, for me, a big trigger for me is if I'm in an argument and when it reaches a tricky point, the woman just leaves. So just like, and walk away and close the door. That brings up really tough things for me as a kid I experienced. So my boundary is, hey, if you get up and leave a conversation, I'm like, I'm gonna be pretty upset, and I might not be able to talk to you for a while. You can choose to do that, but just know that it'll have a reaction in me of deep childhood sadness. And yeah, but I also can't say you cannot walk out the door because I'm controlling you. But you can say, hey, if you walk out the door, you have to know that I'm going to be severely sad, upset, and anxious because that brings up horrible feelings as a kid. That yeah, it's my shit to deal with, but like, why would you do that to me? Like, that's the beauty of boundaries. It's more so like, why would you do that to me? Like, I'm not going to tell you can't do that. Do whatever you want, but like, why would you do that to me? Why would you suddenly just go and leave a conversation mid-conversation because you're upset? Like, why would you do that? Like, if you do that, I'm gonna be upset. Like, why would you want to make me upset? Like, it's honestly a tough thing to manage that art. But what I will say is this: if you're a woman, you have to have boundaries, but make sure those boundaries are in support of maintaining your loud vibrancy of saying, hey, I will not tolerate anything that makes me dumb down my loudness. So I'll not, if you want to control me, you can say it. I'm not going to listen, right? That's a boundary. Like if you want to control me, I'm not going to listen, right? But if the constant boundaries are used as a way to control the man and protect yourself from feeling pain, that's when boundaries get fucked. Where boundaries are good is like, do what you want, you're free, but just know that I'm going to react a certain way, and that's the way things are. So a good man knows a good woman has that locked in, because that means she knows herself, that she knows where her heart is, where her trauma is, and that's a beautiful sign because real confident, bright, brazen, loud people know themselves at a deep level to know what behavior they won't tolerate that'll bring their frequency down, right? If I tolerate disrespect, if I believe your criticism, I don't have my own ways of dealing with it, I'm going to allow my high frequency to be at the control of your own words. That's where this stuff comes in. To close this up, this is also a controversial, difficult topic. What often comes with confident women is ambition. And women believe that ambition turns men away. And this is a tricky thing because it can. Personally, if I see a woman who's ambitious, who wants to create an amazing life, that's awesome. But the thing is here, will your ambition come at the cost of the sanctity, peace, and the hearts of our future children? Just think about that. Like, I, as a man, and the work I do, I'm fully committed. I'm all in. I'll have to be distracted at times. If you're equally doing that at my level, how are our kids going to react? Like, if you're absent all the time and I can't be there all the time, who's going to raise our kids? And that's an honest question. Like, I know it's unfair, but like, it's a fair expectation. It could be flipped, right? If you're super ambitious, like, this is what happens. Most super ambitious women end up attracting a guy who's okay with that, because he'll step back and take a larger role in the parenting process. And that's beautiful. It's great. But what happens with the dynamic sometimes is it will lose polarity and sexual attractiveness, right? The woman becomes a leader. She becomes the person making the decision. She's in her masculine, and the guy ends up being more submissive and feminine. I'm not saying one way is better than the other. Like, that could be what you're more attracted to, but it has its downsides. So I'm not saying this to be unfair. Parts are unfair, but like, if you envision a king, a man who has a vision, who's executing, who's killing it, that guy is sacrificing everything for the communal kingdom of the family. If you're also super ambitious and you're also doing the same thing, where's the heart? Like, the man traditionally is the mind of the household. He's making sure things are always perfect and okay through his hard work and sacrifice, because he knows the woman is taking care of the heart. She's nurturing. She's there for the kids and they have to be there. Doesn't mean the guy's not also helping with that, but that's her role. She's the heart. And a high value, high quality man, if he knows that like she can't be the heart of the family, he knows that comes to the cost of the children. And look, we're facing this the dynamic dilemma in modern dating. There's an epidemic of women who reach 35 and they're like super ambitious boss babes, but they feel like they never could attract the guy they wanted, and now they're fucked and they can't have kids, and they regret it deeply. So that's not to say that like you have a freedom to explore your ambition and really do what you want in life. I'm just being truthful and objective that like that obsession with being a boss babe and being incredibly ambitious could come at the cost of your dream man if you lose your heart in that process. A king has to know you'll be the heart of the house. And you cannot be the heart of the house if you're always in your mind being insanely ambitious all the time. It's a complicated thing. I don't know the exact answer to. All I can say is that a true king who's a leader, who's masculine, who's strong, it's hard for that guy to commit to you if your ambition is your utmost priority, because he knows that you cannot be the heart of the family. And if you cannot be the heart of the family, it can come at the cost of the sanctity and the beauty of the family. So it's just something to sit with. It's like, what thing do you want most? If ambition and creating an amazing career is the thing you want the most, great. But just know that you're gonna have to basically attract in a guy who's okay with that, which means that guy is gonna be less masculine and is gonna have to take more so the role of being the heart of the family. And you have to ask yourself, can I be truly sexually attracted to the guy at a high level? Can I feel super enlivened and passionate about that guy? And you could maybe. I know marriages that work that way, and it's great. For the most part, I also see women in that boss babe ambition lifestyle who end up becoming the woman who belittles and subdues and makes her man quiet. Okay. To conclude, briefly, I know it's been a long one. My brain's already, whew. If you're a woman and you want a man to commit to you, there are 5 things you can do that will increase the ability of making that king of high quality feel like you're worthy of his commitment. 1, reflect on your inability to communicate. If your texting isn't matching your in-person presence, he's going to think you're playing games. If he thinks you're playing games, he's not going to want to commit to you. Furthermore, if you cannot be vulnerable, he knows your heart is closed. If your heart is closed, you cannot be a feminine mother. So if you can't communicate, that's going to be a problem. 2, if a man feels like you're very resistant to him leading, he's not going to want to be with you. Because if you can't accept his leadership, it means that you cannot accept his vision and his ability to execute it. And if you can't believe those things, he will feel constantly emasculated and he will not be his best self. So allow yourself to believe a man can lead healthily and not control you, and know how to identify that man who does that. 3, physical appearance. A good man is not obsessed with looks, but he is obsessed with your health habits. He has to know, do your health habits have longevity in creating and sustaining a high level of mental and physical health? Because if you do not have a life that can sustain both those things, you will either get sick frequently or be likely to die sooner. So for a man to commit to you, he has to know you're being healthy. Number 4, for a man to commit to you, you have to be intelligent. And intelligence isn't IQ. It's a matter of being interested in interesting things, and that's way under your control. Lastly, he has to know you're confident, because a confident woman is the most loud and expressive version of herself. And why would a king not want a woman in her deep, divine, feminine essence? However, confidence often comes with ambition. If you're too ambitious and you're only pursuing a high career, just know that can come at a cost of attracting your king. Thank you for listening. I hope you learned a lot. There's a lot of information, so I apologize if I, lost some steam at the end. Like, subscribe. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you want to watch more content, please click this video right here, and don't forget to subscribe right here. Thank you.